Hi there. You are listening to the Light FM's Girl Talk podcast. My name is Carol.
This is Alicia.
I'm Tricia.
And today we are talking, who am I?
The big question.
Not me in particular. I'm Carol Davis. I know that.
That is for sure.
The amazing.
And
Davis.
thank God there's only one. I'm just going to say that right there. But this actually was born out of a conversation that I was having with Tricia. You want to kind of tell that little story?
Sure, yeah. So I took this course to try to hone a certain skill, and what it asked me to do was to identify certain parts about myself, like who I am, like what I enjoy, what makes me laugh, what makes me cry, what do I do in my off time. I'm like, off time?
Right?
What is this off time you speak of?
Absolutely. But the whole thing threw me off so badly because I was like, well, I'm Sam and Daniel's mom.
Mm.
I'm David's wife. I'm an employee here. I go to this church.
Your daughter, sister, friend.
Right. I own a dog. I couldn't come up with things
Tricia?
about me that weren't directly connected to the people that I love and that I'm currently in relationship with. I was like, I don't really know who I am.
Yeah, and you said something that was interesting to me. You said, I've never thought about who I am. I've only been what people needed me to be.
Yeah,
That's so good.
I
here,
did.
I'm doing this job, and then when I go home, I'm serving the boys and then my husband. But I'm like, well, who am I apart from that?
Mm-hmm.
And it really threw me off because I'd never thought about it, and I'm still like, well, what do I enjoy doing, and who am I, and who do I want to be, and who has God made me to be? So any thoughts? Because I'm still there. I'm kind of going through this.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because I think as women, I'll say for me, I identify myself with the people that I'm in relationship with, which is okay. But it's also, there's also should be a part of me that I kind of am familiar with.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I think from the outside, like, you're an encourager. That is one of your gifts. You encourage people. Tricia and I went to a school to talk about one of our mission trips, and we had to sign in at the front desk. And Tricia's already, she'd never been to this school before, right? And this is my kid's school, so I'm kind of familiar with the process. And Tricia's saying hi to every single person she sees. And she's like, hey, how are you? Hope you have a great day. And thank you for letting us come. And it was really great to be here.
Sweet. That's who she is.
And I go into school and I kind of beeline into where I need to go, and I kind of hide.
And you're not
because
late like I am.
I'm an introvert, and that's harder for me. But you love to encourage people, and I see that as a big thing of who you are. So I think sometimes it's easier for us to get the perspective from other people.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things, because the same thing happened to me a couple of years ago, is that people are like, well, what do you like to do? And I was like,
I don't know.
talk. I like to talk, But other than that, I really couldn't come up with anything. And really spending time figuring out who you are and what you like to do, aside from all the roles you play, is really kind of challenging because it takes you back to a person. Like, I have a hard time remembering before I was a mom.
Yeah, because that's so consuming. And the kids need all of your attention. And even, at the end of the evening when you may have time, depending on when your kids go to bed, I find the older my kids get, the less me time I have because they're staying up later. And I don't want to stay up too late.
8 o'clock.
I go to bed before my kids.
Well, I knew that would come to a point for you where they're, But so it's kind of like you only have a little sliver of the day when it truly is yours. Then what do you do with it? And sometimes, I love to read. We've talked about that before, that we all love to read books. And for the last week, I have not read anything. At night, I get to bed, I've been scrolling on my phone and just kind of decompressing. And then I'm like, I need to go to sleep.
Yeah. I feel like that is why I'm confused because so much of my days are prompted by that. And it's true. I have an hour and 10 minutes between when I get home from my job and before the kids come, and I take a nap and I eat nachos. So that must be who I am every day.
You're a nacho lover.
I do love me the nacho, and the nachos, they mine. So I do love them, but that's beside the point. But I think you mentioned something that made me think about the way God gifts us is part of who we are. And that is important to learn, not only because it helps us be used by God more, but it also kind of answers that question of who are we?
Yeah.
So I am an encourager. That makes me feel good to know that. And I hadn't really taken time to think a lot about that.
You remember it was probably late 70s, early 80s. They used to play on Saturday morning in between the cartoons. They would play these old songs, and there would be a little red bouncing ball on the words. That's Tricia for me.
Yeah.
Like, I see her coming, and it's like the little
there
bouncing
she
ball.
is, energy.
Yeah, she's always got energy. She's got a smile. She always makes me feel good about who I am. But okay, I talk about this a lot, but this is because of who I am.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you have to be careful not to let your struggle become your identity.
Ooh,
Because
that's good.
Because here's my thing. I am so sick of being the token single parent.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just
someone thinks of a single parent and then they
look,
come talk
Carol,
to you.
I thought of you when I saw this. People have said that to you. I've heard it.
No.
Yes. And almost gotten throat punched.
You've shown
I
great
love
restraint.
them. And no, I tell people all the time, that's how I know I'm saved, because the Holy Spirit restrains me. But I think there's a tendency to let our struggle become our identity. Like, oh, Carol's a single mom, and she's on the radio. Well, that's not the only two things about me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Oh, you're divorced, and that's not who I am. And so I think there's a tendency to either go to one extreme of I have no clue who I am outside of the roles I play, to go to I am who my struggle says I am. And you're not your struggle. That's not your identity.
No, you're not. And when you accept that as your identity, that becomes part of kind of a shameful identity struggle that we all kind of go through. So it is not your identity. And you're right about that, because, I'm Tricia. I'm the nervous one. I'm the fearful one. I'm the one that has to battle anxiety. I have gone through some of that before. But that's not good.
But that's not how I see it. That's not how you see her, is it?
Not at all.
I mean, we know
she's
you
the
struggle.
She's the strong one. She's the fearless one, because she does the races. And even like you posted
that's
climbing
so
that big rope, I was like,
I know.
I should try that.
Yeah, I've tried
Come on
it.
over.
It wasn't pretty.
I bet it's hard.
It wasn't pretty.
It is very hard. And here's the interesting thing. Neither one of us see those. We know you struggle
funny?
with those things.
Yeah.
But that's not who you are. No. Neither one of us see that.
Yeah, no.
And that's what I tell myself sometimes, that's who I am, and that's not right. And so if you're doing that, that's not right for you either.
Stop it.
Well, and I think that we need to find time to do things that we enjoy outside of our jobs and our family. And that's
okay, I'm going to put you on the spot.
The hardest thing. What?
You said reading, but besides reading, what do you like to do?
It's hard.
Okay.
I don't know it. And sometimes I imagine the future of when my husband and I are empty nesters, and I'm like, what are we going to do all day? Like, I can't imagine being retired. I think it would be so boring.
I've got something that I see in
come on.
You are so creative. You have such an artistic, creative flair. You take something and you make it beautiful, and you make it interesting, and you make it fun. And that is a real gift.
Well, and I try to do, there's some creative outlets that, like, I like to blog. Sometimes that seems like a second job, because there's a lot of technical things that go along with it, and promotion, but the fine line art of it I like. And then I bake my kids birthday cakes, because I love the creative expression of it.
Wait. You don't just bake birthday cakes. That makes you sound like you go get the Duncan Hines mix
and stir it up.
You do use the cake mix for the base of it.
Okay, but
there are shortcuts.
You make like animals out of cakes.
Yes.
The last one was a panda. Okay, a panda cake.
But it is such a trial and error to do it. But I get enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
And so I do try to make time to do some things like that. But there are a lot of times, like, my husband and I haven't watched a movie in a long time together, because you get so caught up in things.
Can I tell you about the last cake I baked?
Oh,
Total
tell us.
rabbit
I
trail.
Hear about your cake.
I baked 2 cakes in pie pans. They look like flying saucers.
Wait a minute. Why did you do that?
Because I didn't have a cake pan.
If you ever need a cake pan, I have every shape, size, imagine. Seriously, I have every.
That was 20 years ago, at
full
least.
Of just cake pans.
Did it rise?
Truly.
20 years. It rose, but it was in the form of it looked like a flying saucer. It would have been perfect for us.
Maybe shape that into something.
Yeah.
I tried cooking once and baking, and the recipe called for, I don't forget if it was white sugar or brown sugar, but which one ever it was, I didn't have it, so I used the other one, and the thing never, I stirred and it never happened. Like, I don't know. I didn't know you couldn't exchange
I melted
sugars.
Cool Whip.
Okay, that wins.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
How did we get on cooking?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Things
I
that
am
Alicia
not.
does
Yeah.
that we don't do.
I am not a baker. There you go.
But so, Carol, what is it like? I know you love ministry and ministering
yeah.
to women, and you do amazing Bible studies, and I think that's one of your gifts. And does that fill you up, or do you sometimes feel like that becomes another job?
Sometimes if I'm not careful, because, the tendency is to think it's all up to me. Well, I have totally nothing to do with it. It's all up to God. That's his responsibility. So I have to be really careful, and I've got a really good support system of people who are real honest with me, who if they see me getting out of line, they're like, what? And so at times that fills me up, but at times it is. The older I get, the more I find that it's tiring because, people.
It's a lot of work.
It is. It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And people, sharing their stories and being and carrying the weight of that with them can get heavy. I'll tell you what I like to do. Water. I like to sit near water.
Oh, you love just that, the
Like,
look of the water?
One of these days, I'm like praying that, I'll have a rich great uncle somewhere who will die and leave me a house on some water.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I can go, if I'm really stressed out, if something is really bothering me, if I can go just sit near water, I'm going to be okay.
I love the water.
Yeah. And I mean, it could be bath water. It could be, pool water. It can be lake water. It could be ocean water. Any kind of water. Bottled water.
It's
some
amazing
tea.
what it can do.
It used to be water, right?
Yeah.
I used to have a job where on an island, and I had to go over
Judy.
a bridge.
Oh, wow.
And just going to work was so enjoyable because you could
Yeah.
see the water, see the water and all the sailboats and things.
I need to
on it.
get
It
a
was so
job on
peaceful.
a cruise ship.
Oh,
That would
yeah.
be.
You are so fun and funny, and you make things fun.
You could be
and
the cruise
funny.
director. When you go
could
on
be
a
Julie,
cruise with
director, absolutely.
with Carol Davis as a cruise director, Girl Talk Cruise.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
love it.
But you're also very athletic. You
Yeah.
like a challenge. You like to get in there and
do.
CrossFit and do all kinds of stuff. So
I do enjoy that,
Yeah,
but
forget that
I
part.
will say, as I get older, that gets harder to do.
Well, you just modify a little bit, but
Yeah.
But I love that about
I'm
you.
very
You get in there,
competitive.
you have fun. You don't do anything halfway. You just in there and you commit, and that's a great part about you. That's a beautiful part about you. That's inspiring to me as your friend.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I also love to write. I just don't really have that much time to do it. So
That's a harder craft to be able to. You've got to really sit and kind of be just
Yes.
not distracted.
And I will tell you, I just have recently moved into a cubicle. It is impossible for a creative ADHD person to get anything done in a cubicle. I'm just going to throw that out there. I know my review's probably coming up, so if my boss is listening, they're going to say that's a big
We need to build an
excuse.
office.
Yeah, but I don't need an office. I just need people to be quiet and not bother me. No, I'm just kidding. I love people. And that's also one of my challenges. Like, hey, what are you doing? You know?
It's hard at this office sometimes because we have a lot of fun and there's a lot of
Yeah.
chit chat in the hallways, and I think that's a big part of fellowship and
And we need it.
and I think that's a beauty of actually getting to come to work is that to see you guys and talk and a lot of times it's like we work together, but because we get to come to an office, we can share and we have prayer time together
Yes,
every day,
so
which I know
important.
is
And we laugh together and we cry together too.
well, and it's we get the privilege of having prayer time at work.
So
Yeah.
wonderful.
Which every time we're sitting in there, I was like, I can't believe we're sitting in here on work time and doing this.
Praying.
And we're praying for you. We're praying
Right.
for the
We
listeners.
are.
We pray for each other.
Yep.
But that's a great thing to help each other.
And I think that's a great place for us to kind of tie a bow on this and to say maybe you are struggling with who you are. And you can, and all the things are true. There's all these pins on Pinterest. There's all these things on Facebook to tell you who you are in Christ, and every single one of those is true. But sometimes it's best just to sit down with you and maybe a notebook or a paintbrush or I have my colored pencils that and pens that I use quite a bit, and just identify some things that you like to do. Like I think back to you remember Chariots of Fire?
Yeah.
And you remember
I know. I'm trying to think of that song.
what is his name? I can't remember his name. Anyway,
The runner.
yeah, the runner guy that Chariots of
yeah.
Fire is about,
Yeah,
and he
right.
said, "When I run, I feel God's glory." Do you remember him saying
Oh,
that?
yes,
I
yes,
don't
yes.
remember that.
Yeah, he said, "When I run, I
Yeah.
feel God's glory," and I think I don't know for sure, but I think that's what we need to get back to and identifying who we are.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing whatever it is you love to do, when do you feel God's glory? Because that's probably who he's created you to be.
Wow.
Yes.
And a part of you that you need to nurture.
Yes.
And we're not talking about self-help. We're not talking about, we're talking about taking some time to just figure out some of the things that you like to
I
do.
want to paint. Now that
Okay.
you're saying that, I painted in college.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that about
Cool.
you.
And but you grow up and painting doesn't make a living.
I don't know, because like all these like pop-up places are coming where you can go and paint like an item for.
That's true.
You need
Oh,
to do
yeah.
that, Alicia.
So, well, my daughter's studying Leonardo da Vinci, so we've been studying painting and
Yeah.
art and science and all this kind of fun stuff. And I was like, oh, that would be great to go sit by some water with a paintbrush and paint. Wouldn't that be great?
I'll hold the easel for you.
I'll bring nachos.
You could paint too, and it would be fun. Like it
Okay.
doesn't matter what it looks like. It's there's the therapeutic with the paint and the brush on the
That's true.
canvas. It feels so good.
Yeah. So whatever it is, identify something that you like to do and then make a plan to do it. I just go back to that line from Chariots of Fire. Where do you feel God's glory? And we want to champion you in that. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to do that and somebody to ask you the question, hey, what is it that God has designed you to do? Where do you feel his glory? And then go do it. We love you so much, and we'd love for you to be a part of our Facebook page. We've got Girlfriends of the Girl Talk podcast now. You can find that on the Light FM's main Facebook page. You can get there through our website, lightfm.org, or share this podcast because that's how other people find out about it. That's how we get the discussion started, and we'd love for your friends to become our friends too. We love you a ton, and we'd love to hear from you. If you want to email us, you can send an email to girltalk@thelightfm.org. And we'll see you next time here on the Girl Talk Podcast.